This song they play.
Refresh me. I
The
don't even
little
know if
like
I'm.
just the for like. Enjoy my
Is-
sound effect.
Welcome to The Big Room, a movie podcast by non-movie people. I'm here with Danielle
Hello.
and Carl,
Hey,
and not Nick because he was killed by the Humphrey Bogart estate for giving Casablanca 2.5 stars. No, he's out with family matters this week. He watched this Gangs of New York movie for no reason because he's not on the show. We'll get his review and thoughts at the end though, his star rating and thoughts, and he'll be back next week. So. As I sort of alluded to, we watched Gangs in New York this week, which you already knew because you clicked on a podcast title called freaking Gangs in New York. I believe it's a Scorsese film, right? 2002, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Cameron Diaz, and Daniel Day-Lewis, and also John C. Reilly in a not funny role.
Which was jarring.
it's funny seeing him in a not funny role.
It was.
That was tough. I was like, when's he gonna be like Dr. Steve Grohl and be like? Ugh.
So this is a movie set in 1860s New York. It's kind of a gang. Well, it's called Gangs in New York, but it's a gang violence-y kind of who's taken over New York. It's ripe for the taken kind of movie. It was my first DiCaprio movie. I've never seen a DiCaprio movie before.
Which is wild to me that this was your first DiCaprio movie.
I've never seen
There's
a
so
DiCaprio
many to
movie.
choose from too.
It was my
This-
second Daniel Day-Lewis movie.
What's the first one?
Lincoln. He is Lincoln in Lincoln, and I liked Lincoln. From what I remember, I saw it, 15
It is
years
kind of
ago.
ironic. He plays kind of the opposite role in this
He
movie.
totally does. And I don't know if I've seen a Cameron Diaz movie besides this either.
Shrek,
Yep. Yeah, if that
but
counts.
that's not
If that
really.
counts.
Yeah,
She's
not like
Fiona,
that.
right?
She is Fiona.
Yep.
All right, so it's my second Cameron
Correct.
Diaz movie. Well, really fourth because there's 18 Shrek movies. Movie starts with Liam Neeson, who is then killed immediately. I don't know why I can't get through a movie that goes to the credits with Liam Neeson alive. I'm 0 for 2. This is my second Liam Neeson movie. The only other one being Star Wars
Third?
Episode
No.
1.
Batman Begins.
Batman Begins.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't make it either.
And he doesn't
Yeah.
make it either. All right, so I'm
What
0
about
for 3.
Taken?
There you go.
He is struck out and staying alive and things. He's like Sean Bean.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the other actor. Yeah.
R.I.P.
Sean Bean. You see, I don't know. And he was in the trailer too. Liam Neeson's in the trailer. We watched the trailer before this. And I'm like, oh, Liam Neeson's going to be in this. I did not know Liam Neeson would be in this for 5 minutes.
For 5 minutes.
Briefly.
With a big cross weapon is crazy. So it opens on it opens on a shaving scene.
Well, do we want to talk about expectations?
Oh, expectations and reality.
Oh.
I had no expectations. I knew nothing. I watched the trailer. I expected the movie to be shorter.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did not know it was
it's
going to
a
be
lot of movie.
2 hours and 45 minutes.
2 hours and 45 minutes.
I also thought it was going to be set in like the 1940s, 50s. So then when we pulled it up and it was like Civil War, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
whoops.
Yeah.
So that was wrong.
Yeah, I didn't expect that either. I really didn't know what to expect. I guess from the name, I kind of did also expect, 40s to 70s New York, not 1862 New York.
Yeah.
The tone of the movie was weird to me.
What do you mean?
So, and this is, I'll get into a little more specifics on it when we talk about the first big fight between the Dead Rabbits and the whatever Daniel Day-Lewis's people were called.
The natives.
The natives.
Oh,
the
the
Protestant.
natives.
I was
They
going
had
to
a really
call them
long
the tall
name.
hat
Pretty
boys.
pretentious.
Yeah,
name.
they're like dandies. It's kind of
Yeah.
awesome. But the tone of the movie was like, I couldn't get a good feel for it. I don't know. I either expected more violence and grittiness or less and more like politics kind of deal. But I feel like it kind of walked the line in a way that was very unsatisfying to me. I will say I didn't love the movie. I know we're rating it later and all that, but I didn't love it. I wouldn't watch it again. And that stretches into, well, Carl, you'd seen it before, right?
I'd seen it before, but I remember watching it, or like going in to watch it. I definitely thought it was a mafia gangster movie, or
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
modern Bloods Crips kind of movie. Like,
Sure.
So I didn't go. Yeah, I was like, oh, we're going way back. But yeah, I didn't really beyond that. I hadn't really you know, expectation. Just
When
kind
had
of
when
want to
had
see a
you
good
seen
movie.
it last?
I think it was in college when I lived in that kind of nasty house, and it was like with Craig and all those guys. So
Yeah.
we were like, "Oh, we're gonna watch Gangs of New York," and like they all, praised Daniel Day-Lewis's performance, and I think rightly so. If there's only one good takeaway from this movie, I think it's his performance for a
Yeah,
terrible person character, but you still
he
are really
was
drawn to him
he
for
was
some reason.
awesome.
Yeah.
He's
He was,
awesome.
yeah, in a terrible way,
Yeah,
like,
I
but he's
loved
also
his
loving
character.
too. Yeah,
I loved his character. That's the
he
one.
really outshined
Really,
everyone else.
all of the acting is good except for Cameron Diaz's horrendous attempt at an accent.
Oh my God. What was the like?
Hers and Leo's, I didn't love either
Everybody.
though.
Leo's was bad too. Like he came in and out of
We were
it.
in and out of it.
But didn't they
Um,
kind of explain like he lost a little bit of it in the orphanage or something
I
like
think
that?
that's kind of what I assumed.
I wonder if they added that because they're like, this accent's not believable.
He
We gotta
sucks at
address
this, so we're just gonna put.
he's
Band-Aid on
he's
it.
such a good actor. That Irish accent though, I hear is just really
Yeah.
tough to nail.
Yeah, so that we open on that shaving scene with Liam Neeson shaving in a mirror, and then slicing his cheek, and I couldn't gather if that was on purpose or not. It
I
wasn't
feel
clear.
like it was.
Because then,
Yeah. 'Cause he said leave the blood on the blade, which
leave
Leave
blood
the
on
blood
blade.
on the
always
blade.
cleaned the sword. I thought that was traditionally the move.
I don't know. Not if you're a Catholic, I guess. I don't. I
guess
don't know what
not.
the point is. And then Amsterdam does the same thing at the to kind of bring it around. John C. Riley in a serious role. When I saw him pop up at the very beginning of the movie, I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like that doesn't compute in my brain.
Where's Tim? Yeah. it's
Yeah.
like- oh, that's a different
Um,
group. I'm thinking of Tim Heidecker.
We kind of walk out. They walk out of that church or whatever it's like some brick building that they kind of chill in. I forget what it actually
I
was.
think it's a church, but I'm confused as why it's like a cave underneath
Yeah.
Yeah,
We just have
very
some crypts
fort-like too.
in the middle of New York City.
Like in
apparently.
levels of just wooden
Yeah.
Yeah.
crappiness.
Yeah.
Level
Um,
after level too. It was like
You
just
know,
kept
they
going.
they walk out. We're introduced. They're the Dead Rabbits. That's their kind of gang. And then they're having a turf war with the natives. And then it's kind of a Catholic Protestant, Irish Catholic versus American Protestant conflict. That's not really like it doesn't come up much. The
Not really.
religious difference.
Yeah,
It's
the
more of
background
no.
noise.
the
yeah.
nationality difference is much more leaned into as far as the Irish versus the native. I almost said Native Americans, but that's incorrect.
Yeah, they call themselves Native Americans.
They
but-
sure
that would
do.
be wrong.
Incorrect.
Incorrect.
And then they have a really terrible fight. And terrible, I mean cinematically. It was awful. I hated it. It was the combat felt. They're doing like it's a lot of swords and punching, right? Not or knives and
Yeah.
cleavers, and it's not. There are guns at Civil War period, but they're, I guess, for honor reasons, not using them, whether it be honor reasons or wealth reasons. There aren't really many guns in the movie until the later acts. The combat was very weightless. This is only in the first fight. For whatever reason, this felt different later on in the movie. It still never felt fully satisfying. The one-on-one kills did, but
Yeah.
not the group combat. Felt just kind of off the whole film, especially though in this first fight. The combat felt weighty. It lacked impact. The cuts and cinematography were jarring and almost nauseating to me.
That was the weirdest part because it
Yeah.
was just like all of a sudden just these and like weird kind of modern music overlaid.
But
It
like
was,
early 2000s modern music. Like in
Yeah.
that scene, the song choice was just weird. Maybe it would have read more like modern or Peaky Blindersy, in that day. I mean, this is a 21-year-old movie. There was one particular cut in the fight where they like drop the frame rate really low and then like put like a sepia filter over a shot, and I was like not about it. Lots of quick panning too. That's just really jarring. I find in like movie frame rates of 24 FPS, like it just hurts my brain. I really didn't like it. The first fight, I was like, this sucks. the sound design was bad. I felt like if the hits had been punchier and bassier, and I don't know if that's a Cameron likes modern film, but we've been watching a lot of movies from the 40s, and those punches felt more impactful than any slash or punch or thrust or stab that happened in the first fight scene in the movie. I thought it was very bad. I don't know
there was
if
just
I'm
some
alone
like
there.
they'd slashed and there would be no blood, and then it'd just be
And that's the thing is,
stage fights.
I don't want. Not that I know what Tarantino means. I've never seen a Tarantino film, but from what I know, they're very violent and bloody.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted maybe more commitment there, but I think this was a movie that was released by a Disney subsidiary company, and they were a little iffy on the violence, is what I think I read. But
They didn't read the script. It's like this is a gang movie.
Hello.
Like,
well, this
what are you
movie
doing,
was
Disney?
in development hell for 20 years too. I think this first script
I did hear
Scorsese
about
put
that.
forward was in the 70s, like 76.
Can you imagine trying to make a movie for that long?
I
'Cause
know.
Anybody you want to cast is
Well,
aged out by the time it's ready.
And I think he wanted, in the role that Daniel Day-Lewis got, I could be wrong on this. It could be the DiCaprio role, but he wanted De Niro, and De Niro aged out
Really?
because it took 20 years.
God, De Niro would not have done a good.
Again, I did
either.
8 minutes of research on the can, so I, I could have all this wrong. But and then
This is the role that got what's his name out of retirement, though, wasn't it?
who?
Daniel Day-Lewis. Didn't he get him out of retirement to do this?
That I don't know.
Because I know he's kind of one of those eccentric actors that kind of retires, comes
method
back, and
actor.
it's got it. Yeah.
He made people call him Bill on the set.
Yeah, I just read that he stayed in character the whole time they were filming and actually got in fights in parking lots where they were filming the movie because he stayed like as Bill the Butcher, like constantly.
How do you turn that on? Like, how do you
know.
access that? Because I would
Yeah.
be like instantly taken out of it. Like, if I messed up a
Same.
line, I'd be like, I'm not Bill. Like, I don't know how they respect. But
Yeah, it's wild.
I don't have
Method
that in
acting
me.
is just, they're a different breed of human being.
yeah.
And then in
Maybe
this
it's mental illness.
this fight, we're set up for the entire point of the movie when Liam Neeson kicks the bucket, when Bill the Butcher stabs him like 500 times to kill him in front of his kid, who's supposed to be a young DiCaprio, a young Amsterdam is his name, Amsterdam Valen. Liam Neeson.
That's not an Irish name, is it?
I have
I
no
think
idea.
Amsterdam was like his nickname. I think Valen was his Irish name. Because
Gotcha.
then at
Well,
the
Valen's
end,
the last name. Because
Oh,
Priest
okay.
Valen is Liam Neeson's
because at
character.
the end of the movie they were calling him Valen.
And we get more of the priest Valen Liam Neeson to the Daniel Day-Lewis Bill the Butcher relationship later on in the film. All we know is that he kills him, and then a crazy man takes something out of Liam Neeson's coat, and young DiCaprio, that's not DiCaprio, is like furious about it and whatever, and then he gets sent away. The natives let who becomes Amsterdam, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, they let him live, and they send him just to a different town to like some religious boarding school.
So he gets a good education.
He gets a good education. The first thing that DiCaprio's character does when he gets out of school is throw the Bible in the water, which was hilarious.
Not into that.
And then we get
Like the whole
introduced.
fight, and it's just like, I'm gonna throw it away.
Yeah. Then we get
whatever.
introduced to the 5 points, which is the a actual historic part of what is now, I believe, Harlem. I could be wrong, but I think it was Harlem. And there are a bunch of gangs that operate in this in these 5 points. Too many to remember. It was interesting that in the first fight, all of the other gangs outside of the natives were with the Dead Rabbits. So the Dead Rabbits showed up, and then all these other gangs came because the natives are the biggest in population by far, both in the beginning fight and throughout the film. They're the strongest, biggest group of boys, and they're dandies. They've all got big, tall hats and fancy waistcoats and blue sashes on.
Well, they definitely come into money after that fight because I think they kind of absorb some of the other gangs, and it just keeps growing and
Yeah.
growing.
And they also,
When you're reintroduced to him, he's like fancy as fuck, and he's got a top hat and a tailcoat and everything, and I'm just like, wow.
they also
Rags to riches.
kind of absorb control / favor of the Irish population, despite really hating them. And there's a lot of political stuff and balance that goes on in the film that I'm sure if I literally cared at all enough to watch this a second time, I would kind of gather more of. But they spend a lot of time on it, but it ends up like not really mattering until like we start plummeting down towards the end of the film, like ending the roller coaster, where the Irish and the dead rabbits come back and put that guy up for sheriff. Or
Did we ever get the significance of dead rabbit? Was that just
no?
okay? Yeah,
No.
it's like I don't think I got it. But
Nope, we never do. There's a lot of things that we don't really. This movie does a lot of introducing something and then bringing it back around.
Mhm.
You know, the shaving thing comes back at the end.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dialogue that wraps back around. Like when Liam Neeson dies, what's the line he tells the kid?
Like don't look away or
don't
something.
look
Yeah,
or
don't
never
look
don't
away.
never look away.
Don't never look away, he says.
Don't never look away, son. It's
And
a bad accent.
I actually had to, when the movie ended, we talked about
Better
it a
than
little
Leo's.
bit.
Shots fired at Leonardo DiCaprio. You suck.
We did a we talked about it a little bit afterwards, and I had to kind of go, no, that did come back around. It just did in this really unsatisfying way. Like they just kind of mentioned things again, and it didn't have a nice feeling of tying things together. It was a really unsatisfying movie to me.
Yeah, it felt like it took a lot of detours for like world building that kind of got sideswept for like the main story, you know? Like
Yeah.
you were saying this movie was supposed to be like what, 3.5 hours
Three
or
and
something?
a half hours was Scorsese's original cut, and it was cut to 2 hours and 46-ish minutes, which was still too long.
I almost wish it had that extra bit of time.
I wonder where it would be. Where would that extra 45 minutes go? I was wondering if it would be more
Well,
the draft Civil War stuff in the third act.
That's kind of where because that felt rushed. Not
Yeah.
to get too ahead, but it did feel like a lot was happening, and like I was like, I don't know if this is too. It was overwhelming, but that's also just war. So maybe that was
Yeah.
just supposed to be the point, you know?
I will. So when Liam Neeson's character croaks, I had to, everything is Star Wars to me. It's my my compass for all movies. I've never seen movies, hence the point of this podcast. All I have to reference is Star Wars. But it cracked me up how similar Liam Neeson's death in this movie was to his death in Phantom Menace.
It really was.
Both getting
wow.
stabbed both times, both having dying words regarding a boy.
Save the boy.
It was
You must train the boy.
it was, instead of you must train him, it was don't never look away.
Don't never look away.
The boy going on a revenge spree after his death.
The boy does get kidnapped and taken in by a religious cult.
Yep.
and-
Oh.
wow.
Lots of, everything is Star Wars.
Well, that's what we're learning on this journey.
yeah.
Everything is Star Wars, and Star Wars
That's
is
so funny.
everything. Yep. So Amsterdam comes back to 5 points from an orphanage on Blackwell's Island. That's where he takes him. He goes immediately into the church, into where he was at the beginning as a child, and goes to his father's room where the mirror is, and starts digging in a hole in the ground, where there's just a knife, I guess. It's where he hid
Yeah.
the knife that killed his father, that the butcher gave him, which was a weird choice.
Yeah.
And then he's approached by two kids, two other youths, Johnny and somebody else. That other
Can't
guy
remember
that
the
they
guy's name.
bring up a couple times, and we're really saddened by his death, but we aren't made familiar enough with him in the movie to remember his name at all.
Fun fact. Tobey Maguire was considered for the role of Johnny. So
Oh,
may have been better than unknown what's his name.
I'm looking it up. Henry Thomas.
Never heard of him.
So, Amsterdam DiCaprio's character ends up fighting these two and beating the crap out of them, and then realizing, oh, you were my friend from a 2-second scene at the beginning of the movie,
Yep.
and we're supposed to find that a fun
Like,
return.
The fact that anybody can recognize anybody when there's no photos, really, everything's a drawing of a person. It's like you
true.
recognize this guy's face from 16 years ago. You haven't seen him in so long.
Yep. And then we meet Bill again. And then the movie kind of becomes Amsterdam he joins Bill's natives. But also kind of like he's in that side gang with Johnny, I guess, really. And they pay Bill.
It just folds up to Bill.
Yeah.
Everything folds up to Bill.
It folds up to Bill in an arrangement, I guess. The other gangs and businesses can operate, similar to Roadhouse. How
Yeah.
everybody pays Lake
You pay
House
the
guy.
big guy.
It's very similar there. Everything is also
Yeah.
Roadhouse. Everything's Roadhouse. Everything's Star Wars. So
Everything is every movie.
Bill is the best part of the movie. Daniel
Yeah.
Day-Lewis nails it. He's got
No
one
question.
eye. He's a butcher, both of pigs and people. And he runs the biggest gang in town. And we learn that there's, I guess, also true to life, the government uses the gangs to do a lot of the dirty work and a lot of moving the muscle. They use the gangs to influence votes to keep them in power. So, I mean, all that was interesting to me. It was just done in a very flippant way.
Yeah, like I don't have much to say at this point yet because all of my notes up to now are I do not care about any of these characters.
They really don't make you
I was
care.
like, don't care.
They
I don't have any emotional investment in any of this. I was just like, there was a jar of ears at one point, and I was like, this
Why?
movie's very weird.
yeah. We
Those were the
meet.
trophies, weren't they?
I mean, yeah,
Yes.
but like they had them all in like some vinegar, like curing the ears.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
Yum.
We
This is tough
also
because I actually did really like the movie, but there's definitely pain points. Like it
Yeah.
does kind of just meander for a long time. Like the whole well, not to get too, it just takes a lot of
I
time
like
kind of
I
building
like
out a
the
story.
third act, but the building was very meandering, like you were
Yeah.
saying. It's not a.
I just
consistent-
wonder if Bill's character was just so compelling that he kind of washed out everybody else, and if they had gotten a less, like if he didn't do so well, would it have been better? Would it have been more blah? Because DiCaprio's character is just kind of boring. Like he reminds me of Laszlo in the other movie because it was just like, okay, he's just the pinnacle good guy. And it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, well we get that, but
Yeah.
um,
And we meet Jenny here too, which is Cameron Diaz's character, and she sucks.
Poor Cameron Diaz.
No. The character sucks.
Yeah,
the
I
character
know.
Jenny sucks.
But she had to.
We are really we're supposed to care about her without really being given a reason why. She's a pickpocket. She doesn't pay Bill, which was jarring to Amsterdam, DiCaprio's character, because
Yeah.
she's not paying tribute, and he's like, well, why the freak am I paying? Why are me and my boys paying tribute? And he's wondering what arrangement they have there, and it's implied and later painted with a very obviously broad brush why that arrangement is in place, and then explained outright later. So her accent's horrible. We mentioned that on the top. We then kind of, we've got some relationship building between her and Amsterdam that's takes so long. That whole coin chase scene or medallion chase scene could have been 5 minutes, and it was 15.
Yeah, they just kept introducing so many gangs, so many like the different types of thieves.
Yeah,
Like, I was just like, I don't need to know all this to know.
Yeah, because
like,
they never talk.
what's
yeah,
important.
they do. They go into like some VO talking about the different kinds of thieves and what Jenny
She's a turtle
is.
dove and a bludgeon, and I was like, okay,
like-
but that never comes up again, and that's not
never
important at
comes
all.
up
to
again. And this is based on a book called Gangs in New York, a book written in the early, I don't remember, 1920s, I think 1927 or something like that. Which I kind of am compelled to want to read the book because, if it inspired Scorsese to want to make this movie for decades, we have several other Scorsese films on this list, one of which I actually have seen part of and do love, at least what I've seen. But I just wonder how good the book is versus, was this just caught up in Hollywood baloney and not as cracked up as the source material? Which
It
is
just seems like
probably
he got
the case.
really down in the details of like the first half of the book. He's like, oh God, I gotta finish. Yeah. So it just kind of flipped through the pages for like the last third act. But yeah,
Yeah, we got
it's kind of rushed.
we go on some freaking world building, character building. Really building Bill's trust is what Amsterdam's doing. Playing the game to try to get close to him to enact revenge for his father's death is really where the movie's going. We got the illegal boxing match that's busted by the police, that then Amsterdam has a brainwave and goes, well, the city limits aren't in the water, in the ocean. So then they finish the match in the harbor. And that
I'm surprised
earns-
this movie didn't go in real time with them walking down to the harbor as much
Yeah,
as it
right.
like decided to take its time. I was like, all right, like,
it
we're
was
just here now.
insane.
We don't want to see that walk and look at all the streets and everything.
And then really the linchpin that really saves or gets Amsterdam in Bill's favor, in Daniel Day-Lewis's character's favor, is they're at a play that involves Abraham Lincoln that everybody hates, or all the natives don't like him because
they're racist.
Yeah, he's freeing black people. Lots of N-bombs in this movie. Lots of N-bombs
Yeah, that
and
was
Asian
shocking.
slurs.
Asian slurs.
Yeah, I was like, what?
And they're just really going
yeah,
it for it.
let
you
them
know?
have it. It's nuts.
It was jarring. Well, it's
Yeah,
one of
no.
them things.
It's a historical piece still, but yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
ooh.
Um,
I wouldn't want to be an actor and have to do that. You know, I wouldn't
No.
want
Right.
to. But
so Bill gets almost assassinated by a guy walking up to him in slow motion that he doesn't move for. Amsterdam shoves him and basically saves the heart shot, turns it into a shoulder shot, just shoves him a little bit. And then Bill just completely. Well, I think Amsterdam shoots the guy with his own gun or something in
Yeah,
a struggle.
I think so. Yeah.
Which is I believe why he's. I couldn't tell because Amsterdam gets really emotional after this whole scene where he saves
Mhm.
Bill and then Bill kills the guy without finding out who sent him, and I couldn't tell if Amsterdam was upset because he saved Bill and could have had him dead there, or if it was because he killed a guy and it was his first kill. And maybe it was both.
Maybe both. I thought it was because he saved Bill, and like you're saying, he could have just let him die. He's like, am I falling for Bill now? Am I like under this? You know, he was saying about the wing of the dragon. It's warmer than you think.
Yeah, at the
So he's
scene,
like, am I starting to forget my cause
That's
here?
what I thought. I was like, is he gonna turn
Yeah.
and like be on Bill's side? Because he's like, it's the father I never had.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Bill
You
gives him the
killed him.
whole "son I never had" bit at the end of this collection.
Yeah,
of
they go
scenes.
celebrate and
They go celebrate Bill not being dead. We learn that Cameron Diaz's character. Well, we learned before that her character is sleeping with Bill as part of the
Yeah.
arrangement. We learned that she has a scar from an abortion that Bill got for her. We learned this after the whole harbor scene. I guess they go to make love on the harbor, and then he learned when
As you do.
Amsterdam learns that Jenny
as one does.
when he learns that Jenny's character was sleeping with Bill, he's like, I don't want any part of this. And then Jenny leaves, and there's this shot that we get from like behind Bill out into the harbor, and it's one of the worst sets I've ever seen. It looks so bad.
I mean, that didn't stand out to me.
It was distracting to me. I was like, oh, this looks like just a piece of like printed paper with a harbor printed on it. It looked terrible.
The rest of the set and world building though is really good.
And
Like
it was-
I'll give this like a 5 out of 5 for that.
It did.
Like they
Like,
did an
all the
incredible
buildings
job
they had to
recreating
build.
that world.
That was a note that when I was looking up like facts about the movie, is that Scorsese wanted to like build old New York like for real. Like he had to. He's like, he's gonna build a whole freaking square of brick buildings from the 1860s or whenever this takes place,
It's a
1820s.
huge
I think it's
undertaking.
1860s. Civil War.
So, yeah, I mean, most of the sets look good. That scene stood out to me as kind of crappy. And it could have just been how it was shot. Maybe I don't know. I don't know anything about movies. So we get a more kind of, they're drinking and celebrating that Bill lived, and then we get DiCaprio actually sleeping with Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bill shows up, just kind of sits next to their bed while they're sleeping, and Amsterdam wakes up and is like,
Just
Bill's
creepy
watching.
uncle style.
And he's wrapped in an American flag over his wound,
I love America.
which was kind of, I guess, symbolic in a way. And he's talking to him about not knowing that it's Amsterdam's father. He's talking to him about his like favorite enemy or whatever, the only person that he killed that he respected, I think he says.
Yeah, the last honorable man.
That's right. And he goes into this monologue to DiCaprio about, how he fought this guy, this priest, and the priest had bested him before and beat his face into a pulp, and he couldn't look him in the eyes when he did it. And then he like felt bad about not looking him in the eye, so he gouged out the eye that he couldn't look at him with or whatever. So we get then why he has a fake eye. Fun fact, Daniel Day-Lewis wore a glass prosthetic over his actual eye for that.
Wow.
And later in the movie, when he taps it with a knife, he actually did that and just trained himself not to blink when he tapped his eye prosthetic with a knife.
Skill.
Crazy.
Props.
So, we get all this history, and then, the face smashing line comes back later. This is kind of the final piece of where things start to come back full circle in this speech. We get the look in the eye thing, and then that kind of, in a way, comes back to Amsterdam's father telling him don't never look away, kind of like an honor thing, I guess.
Yeah.
We get the eye story, and then Bill leaves, and then Jenny asks Amsterdam, like, who really are you? And it cuts away, so we don't know whether she tells her or not.
I assume he did, but even that, like, who are you? Who are you? It's like, what? That question kind of seemed out of nowhere,
Yeah.
Like, it didn't. I don't know. That stood out to me as strange.
She's, I guess, supposed to be sleeping for that whole exchange. I don't know.
No, she's awake. She's eavesdropping.
Well, and we
That's what you do.
so we get Johnny, right?
I mean, your former like lover, father figure, abuser is,
lover, guardian,
spilling the tea with your current lover. You're gonna eavesdrop a little bit.
And we get
and that's when we find out he's 47.
Yeah. Which is important for some reason. I guess because that's old AF for the time.
Yeah, he's kind of bragging. He's like, look how long I've made it.
You know how I've made it
like,
this long, and it's by being the mostest killerest boy.
We gotta kill all the people.
I forgot to mention before, because this is important, that Johnny kind of peeks in the door when Jenny and Amsterdam are making love. And there was also an exchange that, like, Johnny came out of the room with Amsterdam, and DiCaprio saw it and then got all mad and then, like, starts pushing with Jenny, and then they make out, and it's super dumb.
It was so dumb. I mean...
And then Johnny, though, goes and rats to Bill about who Amsterdam is.
Amsterdam stole his girl.
Because he stole his girl. And
he was crushing on little Jenny.
And Bill puts him up against a wall because that's his new boy, right? Like his new, like, favoritist apprentice.
The guy saved his life.
Saved his life and has been learning the business. And then Johnny tells him that his name is Valen, which is obviously his real last name. And then we kind of cut to this celebration that was alluded to. Every year, the town has a celebration for the day that Bill killed Priest Valen, DiCaprio's dad. And then we had a training montage earlier of Amsterdam with Chinese people, because it happens at, I guess, some Chinese theater or whatever, where they drink a flaming shot, and that's or Bill drinks this flaming glass of liquor, and that's when I guess Amsterdam was gonna throw a knife at him when he was drinking that.
What was the other guy gonna do though? There was the Asian guy that was there with him, and then they pulled him away, and I was like, were they both gonna shoot? Like,
well, I think that's the one that was kind of telling him, like, hey, this is what's gonna happen. We're not really told. It just happens like in a montage.
But they take him away, and then
they
Leo
do
sees
take him
that
away,
and is like very like, oh god, they know, and like you could see the panic on his face. But I was like, what was his? Other than him kind of informing him, like, why did he have to be there? Why is this being taken away significant?
They take him away as if like this is some established character that we're supposed to know what's happening. But we don't. He's just in a silent montage with 2000s music over it.
The only other time I remember seeing him is like when he first gets out, and it pans to him, and he's kind of making a puckered face. And I was like, what's he doing that for?
I don't know, man. And then Daniel Day gives a monologue about, once again, the only honorable opponent I ever had or whatever, lights the flaming shot, lifts it up. DiCaprio throws a knife, but Bill's onto it, right? So he drops the shot. The table lights on fire. They take DiCaprio
with a cleaver or something.
Yeah, they put DiCaprio on a table, and Bill headbutts him 1 billion times.
Which you'd be knocked out.
Yeah,
right?
like concussion for sure.
Yeah.
That's brain damage.
He headbutts him. Well, he does knock out though. He does.
Yeah, but wouldn't Danny D also be knocked out?
I don't know.
Danny DL.
So, and then we get the kind of full circle to how in the monologue, the American flag monologue in the bedroom, Bill alludes to Priest Valen beating his face to a pulp, and then he headbutts Amsterdam Valen's face to a pulp. So another kind of tie around. That one was a little more satisfying. Then he brands his face with a hot knife.
Hot.
With a brand that kind of fades as the movie goes on.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't very.
It's like
He's like, I'm gonna make him disfigured, and I was like, he looks this, and I wonder if it was like Leo's agents like, no, you can't make. He's a sex symbol. He's got to be
can't
hot.
be
The whole
ugly.
movie, like, I was like, what? That was like hardly a scar. Like I
Yeah.
thought he was gonna have like a fully like
Yeah.
just nasty, just which would have been cool.
We
honestly.
get less than 5 shots of the brand being dark. Less
Yeah.
than. It's not. It's so dumb. And then after that, like obviously he lets him live or whatever to be a pariah, I guess. But then what Amsterdam does is puts a dead rabbit on the fence in the town square.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I just don't get why he didn't finish him then. Like, why not just
I don't know.
cut the head of the snake off? But
I don't know. There's.
he says he didn't earn a death by him, but
I
Yeah,
guess.
try
he
to
was
kill you.
like-
That seems like earn enough,
you're, living dishonorably is a worse punishment than death.
Yeah, and
guess
they
so.
both had a
Okay.
thing. They both kind of had a mantra or whatever of they wanted to kill him in a public square where people could see.
Right.
And they both kind of had similar lines where they said that about each other, if I remember right. He gets the dead rabbits back together. We kind of have loose montages of other gangs or other Irish people coming out of the woodwork for it. And Daniel Day, we get the John C. Reilly scene.
Mhm.
And by the way, so he sends John C. Reilly out to get Amsterdam, to get DiCaprio. And is like, I need you to take care of this, blah, blah, blah. And it seemed as a prove your loyalty to me since he was a former dead rabbit at the beginning of the
Right.
movie. And that's when I realized, holy crap, I've seen this scene on TV once. I remember last year I was scrolling, I had turned the TV on. Danielle had watched a movie on that channel the night before or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, John C. Reilly, he's funny." So I had seen the
Not this
scene where he chases DiCaprio through the church or whatever, fires a shot at him, and then is like, "I didn't mean it, boy. Come here," or whatever. And
I
then
didn't mean to shoot you.
DiCaprio comes around from behind a pillar he was obviously behind and chokes John C. Reilly out, and I guess kills him because he hangs him up in the square. And I had seen that on TV.
Another
So
dead rabbit.
I had seen like 5 minutes of this movie before.
Wow.
And then I went, nope, and changed the channel. So if only I could have done this here.
Only you could have done that.
There was some Irish more gatherings of people. They start to the dead rabbits, I guess, behind the scenes, since we're not really shown it.
That's what's
gain
so annoying.
power,
I would
right?
have loved to have seen that coming together. It's like that's the most important part, and they just kind of gloss over it with the montage.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
they gain power enough to where the politician guy, the mayor, whatever he is, goes to the dead rabbits and is like, "Hey, if you can help me get voters," which is the same freaking conversation he has with the natives and Bill earlier in the movie. But it's like, how did we go from putting a dead rabbit on a fence to being
escalated quickly?
influential enough
Yeah.
for the mayor to ask you for help with the Irish vote?
Yeah.
In
And they
freaking
pass it off
10
like
minutes.
the newspaper article, like the headlines, like, I don't know if you realize what publicity this is worth,
Yeah.
or whatever, but it's like that's one article, and it's like, I don't know how valuable the paper is. Most people weren't really literate, were they?
Yeah,
A lot of them
I
weren't.
don't know.
That's a good point.
It's so irritating the way they did that. And then we get the subplot of the draft, the first union draft. So they're rounding up people. Unless you have $300, you get drafted. Nobody's got $300 because we're literally in a slum. So there's added tension there, except it's not done well. This movie's a mess. John C. Reilly dies. I mentioned that. Let me pull up the outline here.
R.I.P.
Johnny betrays Amsterdam. Yep. Amsterdam attempts to kill Bill. Kill Bill coming to you soon. It's in the bucket.
Yeah.
It's in the
Volume
bucket.
2.
Yep. Jack Mulroney. That's the corrupt cop. That was John C. Reilly's character.
Happy
So
Jack,
and
yeah.
then we've got Johnny kind of comes back to Bill. But he's also in a Dead Rabbits meeting. So Johnny's kind of trying to play both sides.
A little bit.
And kind of see where he sticks. Amsterdam tells him, "Hey, I've got to kill you." And then Johnny runs to Bill. Well, then Bill is like, I guess.
Well, I thought Johnny was
Wait,
trying
no.
to flee. I
Was
thought
he trying to
like he
flee?
came to. I think he went to like admit like, hey, I'm the one that told him, and he's like, I got to kill you now, and he's like, just get out of here, like
That-
just
okay.
make an escape. But then they catch him trying to escape.
Okay, yeah.
And then they make an
the
example.
bald
of him.
guy that was a dead rabbit before.
Yeah, I can't remember his name,
I
but
can't
he's
remember his name
he's
either.
like his lieutenant,
Yeah.
Bill's like main guy.
And he catches Johnny, brings him to Bill. That's right. And then Bill, I guess it's implied that he's going to do something bad or kill him. I literally was like, this is the end of Johnny. And then it cuts to DiCaprio running to the square where Johnny's just like leaning. And DiCaprio lifts him up, but then we see that he's bent the fence. The fence
skewered.
spike from the top or whatever. It's like a metal wrought iron fence, and he bends the spoke down and just has stuffed Johnny through it.
It's a big ouch.
And then, he's like, it hurts too bad, kill me. And then DiCaprio does this thing where he screams really loud and then shoots Johnny in the head, which would have been more impactful if anybody that watched the movie gave a single shit about Johnny for any part of it.
I know I didn't.
Nobody cares about this guy. Like DiCaprio 10 seconds earlier is like, I've got to kill you. I'm pissed off at you. And then all of a sudden he's running at the fence he's impaled on and is like bummed out to shoot him in the head. This movie sucks.
Even when you first meet him, now that I think about it, he almost leaves him in the fire.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, he doesn't really have, he saved his life a long time ago. So I guess he kind of feels due.
Yeah. It was just funny. Me and
that
Kara
whole
were
relationship is so.
Me and Kara were both like, oh, he's dead. He's dead. Oh, wait, no, he's going back for him.
And then we've got that whole music box thing that's just like never used.
No.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to give it to Jenny.
Stupid, dumb,
and then Danny D
stupid.
smashed it, so he couldn't give it to Jenny. Maybe if he had the music box, Jenny would have loved him.
And then we have Monk's character, full name Walter Monk McGinn, who's that actor Brendan Gleeson, who plays what's the Harry Potter?
Oh,
Yeah,
Mad Eye Max, I
Moody.
think. Mad Eye Moody.
Mad Eye Moody.
Which he did after this.
Yes.
And that's I couldn't put my finger on. So I for the first time watched Harry Potter like around Thanksgiving. Like so
I still haven't
finished it a
every
month
movie.
ago.
I get to like 5 and I'm like, let's go back to 1 because I don't know those books either. So I have no.
I don't either. I'm not reading all
I
that.
have no. What are they
It's
called?
like reading
Like
7 Bibles. It's too much book.
heavy books.
So we've got
And
Monk.
that guy's ears are like all the way out.
We've got this
Matty
Monk.
or Moody.
We've got this Monk character, and it's DiCaprio and the politician have a talk, and the politician wants Irish votes. Tweedy Bud.
Tweeny politician, something like that.
And we get this kind of, the politician wants Irish votes, and DiCaprio is like, well, I basically going, what are you going to do for me? I want an Irish person in government.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you had the kind of the police officer guy, which is John C. Reilly's character, but he's dead.
Yeah.
So, and then he goes, well, what if I had a sheriff or whatever?
I thought the other guy was the sheriff.
Or maybe he
though.
was the sheriff and he wanted a mayor, something like that. We want him in a position
Well,
of power.
they negotiated for sheriff, but I thought the other guy was the whole time. So I was because he was like the acting guy, but I guess he was just kind of a
deputy, I guess.
Maybe something like that, but yeah.
And who
they basically like, shut him down. It's like you'll be Queen Dick before, and everyone's just like, "What?" And he's like, "It means it won't happen." And it's just like, why did we need that non-phrase for like?
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Amsterdam nominates, what's his name? Crap. Monk.
I can't remember his real name.
I wanted to say Mad Eye Moody. He nominates Monk, and Monk is for it. So he starts campaigning, and he's like, "You can say whatever you want. That's why I nominated you." So he's giving these rousing speeches and
he's a natural,
really riling up the Irish populace, much to Bill's chagrin. Chagrin. And we have
That's a good word.
a vote off, essentially. It's where Bill's got this rah, 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 I hate Lincoln. Everything that's happening is awful. The draft sucks, anti-union stuff. Versus Monk, who's this very pro-Irish, pro-immigration, these gangs are screwing us kind of positive candidate. And Monk ends up winning the vote. By a landslide, because they're having the Irish vote and then go shave and then vote again and then go shave more. And so at one point, the top politician is told by one of his aides, like, yo, Monk is winning by like 3,000 more votes than there are voters. And he's like, make it 20,000, make it 30,000. It's not the votes that count. It's the counters that matter.
Which is an actual quote.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's what I heard.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we wanted a Roman victory or something like that. We make it 20,000. I was like, what's a Roman victory?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah.
So then we have Bill approaches Monk and challenges him to a fight. And Monk is like says to the people in the square, like, do you want to see a fight, or do you want this to be settled by whatever the votes?
Yeah,
or
the
by
new
talks?
law of the land of like.
So he invites.
He doesn't want to betray his post.
He's like, the people have spoken, and he invites Bill into the barbershop, opens the door, and then gets a cleaver in the back. And Bill says
And there's no blood at all.
No blood at all.
Which I was like, I've done this in Red Dead 1,000 times. There's always
blood. Yeah. There's always blood.
Yeah.
And then Bill takes his club. The one thing we know about Monk's personality is this club, and then tells him, puts another notch in, and is like, that notch is for you. And then,
this is you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
like,
off screen,
got him.
off screen stoves his head in, and we don't even get to see it. No red mist on the window, nothing.
No, nothing on his face even hardly.
They ran out of their blood budget for this part, I guess. It's so dumb.
They used it all later.
I almost wanted more violence.
Well, they still
in
had,
the
there
movie.
was tons of blood money in the steak he was eating after that.
Yeah.
That was the most undercooked steak I'd ever. I was like, he's not gonna eat that shit.
He literally like
charred,
lightly
one-
sears it both sides and is like, that's
I
done.
guess that's enough, but that's not enough for me.
It's rarer than rare.
Yeah.
And then the draft riots start, the Civil War draft riots, which erupts just as the fight between the natives and the new dead rabbits starts. So they like line up in the streets,
they agree
just like
to
in
a
the
new.
beginning.
Yep. Full circle.
But first, we hear the worst song of all time, the whistling.
Oh yeah.
I wish we could play it for you now.
There's this song they play.
Refresh me. I
The
don't even
little
know if
like
I'm.
just the for like 5 minutes.
So when it starts,
Enjoy my sound effect.
when it starts was when Leonardo's character first gets to the 5 points at the very beginning of the movie. They start this song, and it's like this little like, I don't even know. It's like almost piano-ish, and it's little metal mallets and strings, and there's also this weird whistle in the background. It's pretty grating, and they bring it back for this battle lineup, which is interrupted by cannon fire blowing into the ranks of the dead rabbits and throwing dust everywhere. And this is where I was like, yes, this will have an unsatisfying ending that I will be annoyed with all night. And I was right. So, we get there's montages of draft riots, and it's, I guess, has some gravity, but who cares? Because all we want is this gang fight.
It's a lot happening, and
It's
it
a
feels
lot
like it's
to handle.
distracting from the thing that I wanted to see.
Yeah.
But on top of that, it's like, well, life isn't always what you want to see, and sometimes war happens, and sometimes you just gotta, get an unceremonious end, I guess.
The fight devolves into this hilarious group of scenes where DiCaprio's standing in this dust, and it's just his hair's all out, and he's got a knife, and he's just turning in circles looking for Bill, who just like runs 3 or 4 times like ha-cha-cha-cha out of the shadows and slashes the back of his calves. But then later we don't see calf injuries on DiCaprio.
He
when
does
they're laying
limp.
down.
He limps away
He
from the
limps
body.
But there's no
away.
blood.
You're
I don't remember there being
right.
blood on his like
No,
legs or
it's
cuts or anything.
And that happens
the-
like a million times. And then another shell, I guess, hits near them.
Yeah.
But only Bill's got shrapnel in him, so he's all but dead anyway.
Yeah.
And then,
Before that, like people in the gangs are just charging bayonets.
yeah,
Like the one guy that the guy that was Bill's main guy is just like, what? And they're just like, drop him.
Yeah.
Like, what were you doing? What did you think?
Yeah,
But I
because
guess you could maybe have, if they were like trying to pack it in time, he could have done it.
right, but they all have
But it was just
bayonets.
like, and then the other guy just runs in with an axe, and he just jumps on top of some guy's back like a spider monkey. And I was like, what was your plan there, bud?
Yeah, that was another one of DiCaprio's friends that we were supposed to care
Yeah.
about, but we're given no reason to.
Yeah, some new guy that shows up out of nowhere, and we're just like, okay, so he's a buddy too.
And we've got a shell hits in between wounded Bill, or in between DiCaprio and Bill, and wounds Bill mortally. And then there's some dialogue or whatever, and Bill's like, "Thank God I die a true American,"
Yeah.
Whatever that
Whatever
means.
that means.
Never given. Such a stupid movie.
I was
And-
killed by
Very
my own
true
cannons, so
American.
that means I'm a true American.
Yeah, and then DiCaprio does another yell and stab a guy and stabs him and then falls over, and I'm like, are they both dead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's just a Last Jedi, like one person's dead, the other person's exhausted kind of deal, and
From the fight that he didn't have.
from that he didn't
Yeah.
have, and then Cameron Diaz shows up, and we're all like, boo, Cameron Diaz is still here. Why are you here? Why is your
That's we're going to
accent so
California
bad?
already. Why are you still
Yeah,
here?
we're going to
'Cause
California.
They've been making plans to go to California.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause they're
they-
finding gold in the river. It's like that'll work
That's
out too.
right.
Go
They,
ahead.
Wow.
they make the plan to go to California for the gold rush when DiCaprio, we have his I'm like almost brain dead from being headbutted so many times
Yeah.
montage. And then she's
Mutilated
like,
my
we're going to
face.
sail to California. And then we get a map overlay of like the way to go to California back in the day, which is to sail all the way around
All
South
the way.
America.
It's the fastest
It's
way
like,
to
wouldn't
go.
it be faster? Shouldn't you just like take a trolley and go west? Like,
Well,
can't you just take one of those cart or
The
horse?
railway hadn't connected the coasts yet.
Yeah, but that's gotta
I
be.
said
It's gotta
horse
be
and
faster
buggy.
to take. Right,
Yeah.
horse and buggy would be faster than going all the way
all
through.
the way around.
Didn't Davy Crockett chop the trees down for this? We
Yes.
got to be able to get to
Didn't
California.
we were already like
Yeah,
burning
we've had
Native
pioneers
American
at this
land.
point.
Yeah.
So that was a little
All
silly.
for nothing, just for you to get on a ship, Cameron
So
Diaz.
to bring it back to Star Wars, I don't know
Thank
how
God.
much I don't know how much of Clone Wars you've watched
Almost all.
or Rebels. I think it's
None
Rebels
of it.
actually. But that so you know the final fight with Obi-Wan and Maul.
100%, yes.
Okay, so that's kind of what this last little fight reminded me of. It wasn't the fight that I wanted. I want to see Obi-Wan and Maul fight like they did in Episode 1.
Sure.
But we got that already. So now we get to see this kind of like quick fight that's kind of over before it started kind of thing. And that's what that
Yeah.
last little scene felt like to me. It was like, it wasn't what I wanted, but if I had gotten what I wanted, it wouldn't have been good enough anyway. kind of
Exactly.
thing.
Well, the thing is
So-
like we got the big clash between the dead rabbits and the natives at the beginning of the movie, kind of like you're saying, except that fight sucked.
The editing was so strange.
So
which I was like,
bad.
and and I'm like, why? Because that kind of editing isn't really shown in any of in the rest of the movie. So I'm like, what was the significance of that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
And the movie ends with we get Bill buried next to Amsterdam's dad. So Amsterdam buries them side by side, and then we do a pan up to the New York City skyline, and then we do a montage of the skyline being built
Yep.
with the Twin Towers still. This
Yep.
movie was released in 2002.
Yeah, it
Could
was.
have just not had the Twin Towers in the movie.
Well, they filmed it pre 2002, but yeah, once it was released, the Twin Towers were.
but
no-
didn't they
no
take the
longer.
Twin Towers out of Spider-Man?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I thought they took the Twin Tower. I'm gonna look it
This
up.
movie,
Talk about
Which
they
is
had to
Spider-Man?
pay. They had to pay so much movie to DiCaprio for this movie. They didn't have the budget to do that. They were like, nah, it's fine.
Yes.
Do we know how much
Yes.
they made?
So in the summer of 2002, which is around when this movie came out, the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man came out, and they edited the train scene.
Oh.
You know, the train scene where he's
Yeah.
be careful, he's a hero, and they do that hilarious thing where they
He's
crowds.
just a boy.
Isn't Joey
they-
Diaz in that movie?
Yeah, Joey Diaz is in it. And
Wait,
they-
the Doc Ock one or the Green Goblin one?
I think this is the
This is the second
The
one.
train
Spider-Man
was Doc
2.
Ock,
This is
right?
Spider-Man
Okay,
2.
okay.
Yes, sorry. Spider-Man 2, they do they
He's
remove
just a kid.
Joey Diaz is in it, and they crowd surf Peter Parker back. They
Yeah.
edited the whole train sequence to not have the
Gotcha.
Twin Towers in it because of 9/11. And in this movie, they just didn't care.
It's like, nah.
Yeah.
They're just
get
the
it.
Like
Twin
we've been
Towers are
working
in
at
it.
this for way too long. We're over budget by 100,000, 100 million. We're done.
I'm pretty sure there's a voiceover during all that
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't remember.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Something about after all the dust settled, and then
Yeah.
people are not even going to remember that we were even
Yeah.
here. And I was like, is this like one of those Lincoln ads with Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, I hope I don't remember this movie. I don't know, man. I'm being harsh, but
I liked it. I will say it's got problems, sure, but I think it was visually, other than that first fight scene, which was kind of strange, but like really impressive with the scale and the scope of the movie. Like they recreated old New York. The wardrobes are crazy. Like they had those old houses. I thought that was really interesting. It puts you in that world. You just didn't want to be in the world.
well, I think for me, I wish it was darker and grittier even.
Yeah,
I wish
I could have stood for that.
I wish they had ran a little further towards that end zone. A
I
little
could have
more
done without
blood.
some of this extra fluff with like they had at one
So
point the
much
fire
fluff.
scene with the firefighters fighting. I was like,
Yeah.
that's kind of important, kind of not really. Like
Well,
Bill's brought back, and then what's his name saves Johnny, and Bill sees that, which is kind of important. But everything's just kind of important. The things that were really important, I wish they'd spent more time on and developing more. Because like with what's his name for 3 months, he's like kind of underground when Leo
Yeah.
Amsterdam's kind of being brought back to health.
yeah.
It's like how did they manage that? How did Cameron Diaz's character Jenny not get caught by Bill's
Good
gang?
point.
How did he amass this group with like? Because 3 months of nobody there is really hard to keep people in. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like one of those little. That's not a MacGuffin, but that's like a big plot hole where it's like, how did this kind of work? And they kind of glossed over it with the editing. So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right,
Put it in a montage.
But I mean-
It'll be fine.
yeah,
I
we'll throw
kinda-
some music over, do an overlay.
Yeah.
I forgot about the
But-
firefighter thing. That's kind of I can't remember if this is New York or London. Either way, there before there were citywide fire departments, like state funded, city funded fire departments, they were private sectors, just kind of like literal gangs of dudes that were going to put out fires, but they sold you like fire insurance. And you know, you would pick a fire department in quotes, and then they would put their plaque on your house. And then if your house is on fire,
Oh.
they would put it out, which means that if another fire department showed up that you hadn't paid, they'd just be like, no, your house is burning. You didn't pay us to put your fire out. I'm pretty sure that's historical fact. Nobody
We're
checked.
so
me on
lucky
that.
to be in these times. Could you imagine living back then?
No.
Yeah.
Just no,
No.
indoor plumbing,
No, I
right?
cannot.
No,
No
indoor
indoor
I don't
plumbing
think
at this
so.
point.
Not yet.
No,
not.
not yet.
I don't.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't think so. I'll go ahead and say with 100% certainty, no. Based on nothing. So positives though, we've got to all have a
Yeah.
positive. My positive was Daniel Day-Lewis. He was freaking remarkable.
What
in
a
this movie.
performance! Oh my god.
You know, he's got a scene where did we talk about the prosthetic eye?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit.
That was that the actor wore like a
He wore a prosthetic
yeah.
like eye like contact, but it was hard.
he
It was like
died with
glass.
the eagle eye, right?
Yes.
He switched it. Okay.
Yeah,
That was nice full
and
circle.
he taps that with a knife, and it's a real. He actually does that. It's crazy, man.
I thought
that's
that they
commitment.
forgot to edit the eagle eye back in. I thought he had the eagle eye the whole movie, and he was just talking with the regular eye. I was like, oh my god, they didn't remember to.
Did we
but
see
he just
him
has a
switch
regular
it?
eye.
I didn't even
No.
notice that
At the
they
very
switched.
beginning, he's got that eagle eye. They zoom in, and then after that, it's just a regular glass eye. And then, at the end of the movie, he puts the old one back in, and he dies. I guess a true American is
Oh, that's wild.
what the tie-in is.
Didn't
But
even notice.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either. I loved his character. His performance was great. I thought DiCaprio was fine. Cameron
Yeah.
Diaz was even fine, aside from her horrible accent and her character just not being written great.
yeah, she.
I don't know. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate the movie. The monk character was cool.
Yeah.
John C. Reilly in a serious role was very interesting to watch. I think he showed he had a little bit of range there. Although he's
not bad.
he's not a primary character in it by any means.
I guess he started as a serious actor.
Oh,
'cause
did he?
The other stuff didn't come out until after this.
Gotcha.
Like
okay.
Talladega Nights and stuff like that. That wasn't
Yeah.
until
Yeah, that's true.
well after. So
Yeah.
it's for that's a huge swing.
Yeah, it is. Did you have anything positive?
were there any
that
other
you liked?
facts,
You
or-
really hated this movie.
I have no positives.
No positive.
I did not like this movie. I did not enjoy watching it. I did not like it at all.
There was one point where she like stood up to take the dogs out, and I paused the movie thinking it would be almost over, and we had like an hour
We had
14
so much
left. I was like,
left.
oh my
Yeah,
god.
It's a long
was
movie.
really
I was
long.
like, am I really gonna watch this one 2 or 3 times? I was like, I don't think I am.
No.
Like, yeah, it was
So
a
freaking
lot.
long.
Yeah.
You know, I feel bad because I wanted to like it, but I just didn't.
I had hopes because like I looked at the cast list and I was like, these people are usually in like good movies that I've enjoyed.
Yeah, we did that at the end of the last episode even.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, this cast looks good. This is
was
promising.
Great. Yeah.
I didn't like it. You liked it
It
though.
got
What?
me.
I liked it.
You liked it. What were your like
And
positives?
well,
Like,
maybe
what-
I'm holding it
what
into
does it
like
do
some
for you?
nostalgic value because I watched it in college when I was in my prime, before I was an old man. So maybe there's some of that. But I just liked Daniel Day-Lewis's performance. That was my first introduction to him. So I
Yeah.
was like, this guy's like the way he became that character. That character looks so iconic too. It's just this larger than life person. Um, I don't know. Like he's so good that he outshines the rest of the cast to where maybe that kind of hurts it. And
Yeah.
and I've already spoken about like the set design and the kind of world building. I think they just do knock it out of the park there. They really do a good job of bringing you back to that world, which
Yeah.
like they had to build like I think a mile of like New
Really
York,
old
Oh, wow.
buildings.
like,
Yeah.
and then interiors too. There was tons of interior, so I thought that was all really well done. The costumes were really good. Um,
I did like the
and I did
dandy
like a lot
costumes.
of the Seinfeld lover in me loved the full circle for some things and the callbacks, so I did like that.
I like
Um,
those.
it's still good. I still really enjoyed it. It's long. I definitely don't want to watch it again for a long time.
it's so
But
long, dude.
I don't know. I think I really just like Daniel Day-Lewis's performance in this. That's mainly it.
I think
Leo's is kind of bland. What?
There's another Daniel Day-Lewis movie in this bucket. I think we have
There Will Be Blood.
There Will Be Blood is on this list.
Yeah.
That's also long.
Which I'm
AF.
wondering if you'll like that one. I
We'll
have seen that one
see.
too. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into any of these with any predisposed judgment, I hope. There's other Scorsese. There's 2 or 3 other Scorsese films on this list that I'm excited for. So, I don't know. I definitely didn't hate it. Do we want to jump into star ratings?
Yeah, let's go on to that.
Yeah, I think I've got Nick's here.
Okay, we've got Nick. Let's do Nick's first because he's not here. We did.
Do you guys want to guess what he said?
Ooh.
I'm gonna guess 2 stars for Nick.
My first guess was 3.
I don't know if
My
he
first
will.
thought.
I don't know if he will have liked it either.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
If he was confused by freaking Casablanca,
Yeah.
I don't know if he
I
will.
think he
have,
just needs color. The black and white probably threw him off. So I'm with y'all. I thought he wasn't going to like it. He says, and I'm quoting, "So I really enjoyed it. I thought Daniel Day-Lewis did a phenomenal job. He was the best part of the movie," which I agree. He says he loved how everything was a competition between the gangs, even the firemen. The conflict of Amsterdam befriending the butcher kept me engaged. You could tell he was struggling, especially towards the end. Love that he saved the butcher's life just to take it himself. He says was super bummed though that his friend told the butcher who his dad was. Yeah, that was a real dick move.
Yeah.
Like the girl wasn't even into you. You knew that, and you still felt hurt enough to put another guy's life in jeopardy who saved your life. Felt very
Yeah.
anticlimactic. I was waiting for the scene between Amsterdam and the butcher where it was revealed. Yeah, that would have been. I feel like that would have been better is if Leo's character had told Bill.
Yeah.
Like if he'd been like, look, I know, like, I don't know how this will, make you feel. If he had told Bill, hey, I'm Valen's son,
give him a you killed
and
my
then
father.
Bill
now
had
prepare
been
to
like,
die.
well, I can't stand for this, and like then drew the ties, and that would have given.
Oh,
Leo's
I
a
see.
character.
I see.
But this is like it's just kind of like, I guess I'm gonna commit to it now.
So different to you, I would have liked more of a "you killed my father, now prepare to die" moment. Like more of a reveal there. But
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let's see. And then he says, love the ending, but the butcher finally losing his life to Amsterdam justice. So he did not proofread. Oh, he says, I did not proofread this.
I'm kind of sad that we didn't. I mean, I'm sad that we didn't have Nick's takes on this because I feel like it
know.
would have been totally different.
Maybe we can have like a little bonus clip where we just have him kind of do a little 5-minute rant or something. So do you want to guess the stars or just go ahead and say it?
Go ahead and say it.
He gave it 4 out of 5.
That's insane.
What?
I'm reveling in the chaos of Nick disagreeing with me.
Oh my
This is
God.
hysterical. We're 2 for 2.
Oh my God.
Carl, you go ahead.
Honestly, I think I give it a 4 out of 5 too. I think it's got problems, sure, but a 4 out of 5 is a B. And I think what it does right, it does really well. So I'm gonna
All right.
probably leave it at that.
I'm gonna give it a low C. I'm gonna give it 2.5. I think. Yeah, 2.5. I didn't hate it. I do. I
What did
think
you give Roadhouse?
3.5.
Wow.
I think this is worse than Roadhouse. I enjoyed
That's-
this significantly less than Roadhouse.
Yeah.
However, it's not a 1, it's not a 2, because I recognize that I know I've called it a stupid movie like 30 times during this. I recognize that this is a good movie,
Mm-hmm.
I like legendary director, legendary actors. I think the
Yeah.
script has issues. The sets are great.
It had everything going for it.
I just don't. I did
Did
not
have everything going for it.
I did not connect with the story enough. I appreciate that things circled around, but I wish they had. You know, I wish a lot of things. I wish that first fight didn't suck. I wish the sound design was different. I wish the camera cuts weren't so 2000s. I wish it was more violent. I wish it pushed the envelope more in that way. You know, be a dark, violent movie. You know, don't. It's weird how they showed blood in some scenes and didn't show them in others. We got the grittiness of.
There's a disconnect there.
We got the grittiness of Johnny's
meddling.
death juxtaposed with some of the other deaths in the movie. You know, I felt like the later the movie went, the better it got to me. But the ending did feel kind of rushed.
Hard to get that far into it.
And it's hard to get that far in. It's way too long. I can't believe there's a 3.5 hour cut of this somewhere in the universe. I cannot believe that. I don't know.
I wonder where they're adding though, because that would also.
No, I would I would hope and assume it was Draft Riot stuff later on, and not more of the already drawn out world building at the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that whole scene was suffocating, and I don't know if that was the intention or if it was just rushed. You know, because I can kind of get on both sides. I'd be like, yeah, the symbolism of like the military coming in, you don't know where they're coming. There's no phones. There's no like way to know what's going on. It's just chaos. So I kind of get that it does make sense for that.
It just felt like there's so much going on between the politics and the gang disputes, and then we have the draft stuff, and oh my gosh, this could have been a 2-hour movie, I think, and not lost a lot. But I don't know. I didn't love it. I wouldn't watch it again, I don't think, and I'd give it 2, maybe 2.5 stars. And now for Danielle to give it a worse review.
All right. Danielle Day-Lewis.
I'm going to give it a 1 star. I did not like this movie. I did not think it was well written or well produced. I don't care how famous you are. I do think the actors did a good job, but everybody else, the score, the accents, I think like the romance, usually you can pull me back in with a little romance. Nope.
Bad.
The romance was bad. Everything
Yeah, the
in
romance
this
was kind of
movie
flat.
was somber.
Flat was good.
Everything was somber. Even the high points that were supposed to be high weren't high. They were sad. I would not want to watch it again.
No.
Scorsese doesn't really do romance, does he?
I don't know.
But like it was in there. Like they wanted
I mean,
you
Taxi
to
Driver
obviously...
kind of has it, but that's almost flat too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to actually seeing like Goodfellas again. I haven't seen all of Goodfellas. I've seen some. I think that's a Scorsese movie. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Give me that movie is crazy violent. Give me that. Give me in that setting. I identify with more. I want to be in the 40s to 70s kind of gang violence, not the 1860s.
Yeah. Do you think if they remade this as a mafia movie, or even a modern version where it's just like real like modern gangs, do you think that would work?
That I don't know.
To some degree.
Well,
I mean,
it would
some of
change
the historical
everything
context
about
would have to lose, but
it would change everything about.
But don't
the
they do
movie.
that with like? There's some like New York movies they always like update.
What's that?
They always keep
one
making new
that's
versions.
A Star is Born?
Maybe
yeah,
that's
but
it.
a totally different type of movie.
West Side Story, maybe.
West
Yeah.
Side Story
Is that the
is
one they
a
keep
gang,
remaking?
That's it.
Romeo and Juliet.
They always kind of retell it. And I was like, I wonder if this one would hold
It's
up if
on
it was
this
remade
list,
today. Because it's
actually.
been 20 years or 21 years. They could remake it.
West Side Story is on the list.
West Side Story's on the list.
Oh,
So what's your star rating?
I give it a 4.
You gave it a 4. You gave it a 1.
Yeah,
I
I'm
gave
with
it
Nick.
a 2.5. Nick gave it a 4. Holy crap. Maybe
This
we're
is
just
a
idiots.
divisive
No,
movie.
we're not idiots. We're not. I stand by my thing.
Well,
There you go.
I don't know.
we're divided. So
Maybe I
We're
didn't get it.
divided.
no clear W or L on this one,
Yeah.
which is fine. Tell us we're stupid in the comments, and we'll let's go ahead and end on a positive, a unified positive of picking our next film. Please, God, be the
Ooh.
Muppets movie. I don't.
That
want,
would actually be a lot of fun.
I don't want another
Give us a
bummer.
good mix.
I kind of want Kill Bill.
Oh, Kill
Now that
Bill. Would
we've-
be,
Since we've killed Bill.
all right, I'm picking this one. Oh, Coach Carter.
Ooh,
Okay.
We get a Sam Jackson basketball movie.
Very different.
love Sam Jackson.
This is a BMAC pick.
Really?
So, this is the one
Nice.
movie. This is one of several movies that a friend of ours, Brian, has seen, and he told me I've got to put Coach Carter on the list. He quotes this movie often. I'm excited. So I
right.
think another drama, but a sports drama.
What other movies did he put in?
That was the only. Well, he put in Couples Retreat. I had to cut it for some more more
I don't know
influential
if
movies.
that. Yeah.
But he also wanted the.
That does not seem like a BMAC pick.
He also wanted the Snoop Dogg version of Starsky and Hutch. And I was like,
With Ben Stiller and
I think so. Yeah.
that's a great. Yeah, we should get that one in
Well,
there
next year. Next
Yeah.
year. All right, y'all.
Bonus episodes.
Sorry we hated this movie, I guess.
Tune in next week and maybe we'll like the next one.
Maybe we'll like Coach Carter. Thanks for listening. Comment below. Tell us we're idiots. Follow us on socials at the Big Room Pod on everything. And we'll have a new episode up for y'all next Tuesday.
Yes, we will.
All right, everybody. Well, Coach Carter next. We'll catch y'all in the next one.